with Ross Symonds, Ann Sanders, Neil Brooks and Brian Bury. This is 7 Nightly News.
A faulty fuel line blamed for the explosion that killed 4 young Australian sailors.
More than 70,000 rally to support our sacked wharfies.
And AMP policyholders find out how much they'll make from the share float.
Good evening. A surprise finding about what Australians fear the most.
Also, the literacy test that shows our teens are terrific at reading and writing.
The parents of a young sailor from Camden, just south of Sydney, say their son died doing the job he loved. Leading seaman Bradley Meek was one of 4 sailors killed in an engine room blast on board the Navy tanker Westralia. A faulty fuel line is being blamed for the disaster.
It was supposed to have been an exercise sailors dream of, a tour to Bali and return. But last night the Westralia was back home in port after a voyage that turned into a nightmare. As relatives hugged and consoled crew members, thoughts were also for the families of the 4 who died. Petty Officer Sean Smith, 29 of WA, Midshipman Megan Pelly, 22 of Queensland, able seaman Philip Carroll, 23 of Victoria, and leading seaman Bradley Meek, 25 of New South Wales. His father today spoke of devastation and loss.
He was just one of those kids that get on with anyone, you know, and he loved life. And it's just the way we'll remember him.
Today, a subdued scene at HMAS Stirling, all crew given immediate leave and counselled by trauma experts. At a Perth hospital, 5 injured crewmates recovered from burns and shock.
They've obviously been through an extremely traumatic experience, and we now feel that they are fit to be discharged to the care of their families in the Navy.
Just what happened will be the subject of a formal inquiry. The Westralia left port at 9 a.m. Perth time. Fire broke out in the engine room at 11 o'clock. What followed was an immediate evacuation and muster. Realising 4 were missing, rescue crews were forced back by flames. At 11:10, a crucial decision. The ship's commander ordering the compartment sealed and drenched with carbon dioxide to starve the flames of oxygen. The fire now dangerously close to cargo of 20,000 tonnes of diesel, aviation fuel and other highly flammable substances.
A fire in a ship at sea is something you don't want to see, and a fire in a tanker is something you definitely don't want to see.
Vice Admiral Chalmers, who flew into Perth today, said the ship's commander had a difficult choice.
He took all the information that he had available to him, and he made that decision. It may well have been a decision between the loss of some lives and the loss of the whole ship and many more lives.
Late today, cameras were allowed on board the Westralia to record the extent of damage.
Underneath that area there, which is very badly burnt, and then the heat's gone straight up through there.
The scene was a blackened and shattered interior of the main engine room, where the 4 sailors lost their lives. John McCourt, 7 Nightly News.
And in Today Tonight, right after the news, Bradley Meek's mum and dad talk about their son's love for life and the Navy.
More than 70,000 people have rallied in protest at the federal government's industrial laws. They also voiced their support for the sacked wharfies, who are still waiting outside the docks on the day they were meant to head back to work.
The workers united will never be defeated.
The union war cry brought Melbourne to a standstill. The city's streets choked with protesters from all unions rallying against the federal government's industrial laws.
If you could just see the crowd from up here, it is just so amazing. This day is a very proud day for the union movement.
Peter Reith, again the target of anger.
That's what he's done. He's introduced this as the new tool of industrial relations in this country, along with the dogs.
And it's claims that dogs and burly security guards are still patrolling Patrick's Wharves that stopped a return to work today. The MUA asked the federal court to intervene, but this time no luck for the unions, Justice Tony North refusing to hear their appeal.
Their performance in the federal court this morning was totally inappropriate. They've been attempting to use the court for political purposes.
But Patrick says the wharfies have nothing to fear. There's only minimum security present at their facilities, and there hasn't been any security dogs used anywhere in Australia for 48 hours. And despite the setback in court, unions remain defiant, promising more rallies like this 60,000-strong protest in Melbourne. And unions warn unless an agreement can be reached, they'll go back to the courts tomorrow. In Melbourne, Elise Mooney, 7 Nightly News.
AMP policyholders have plenty to smile about tonight, with news they'll each get at least $7,500 worth of shares. As Seven's money expert David Koch explains, the insurance giant unveiled its long-awaited prospectus ahead of its listing on the stock exchange next month.
Never before have more Australians gone to bed so much richer than when they woke up.
Well, I think I made a lot of people very happy. How many are very rich? I want to comment on that, but very happy I'll accept.
1.7 million AMP policyholders on average made at least $7,500 today just for being a customer. With an average of 500 shares per policyholder, the AMP believes the shares are worth between $12.50 and $16 each. The Australian economy is also a winner. It will add 0.25% to economic growth and create up to 20,000 new jobs. Policyholders have 3 options: hold on to the shares as an investment, sell all or part of your entitlement before they're listed on the share market for the base price plus half of the average first week's profit after listing. And, if you're keen, buy up to $1,000 more from those who want to sell.
If you're an AMP policyholder, the first thing you must not do is to sell them. You'll be bloody nuts. What you should do is to go and buy more.
The prospectus will be delivered over the next 2 weeks. If you need the cash, well then selling looks attractive. But if you want to build a good long-term nest egg, the experts say AMP looks pretty good. David Koch, 7 Nightly News.
If someone asked you
what you feared most, what would you say? A new crime survey has come up with some surprising answers. It claims young people fear other young people, and most of us worry about travelling alone at night on public transport.
Welcome to your nightmare. No cobweb trips, spectres or spooks. Believe the latest study, and it's shopping malls, public transport and lonely places after dark that frighten us most.
University campuses, walking late back from classes, I suppose, when it's dark.
Being attacked, I guess, yeah.
Really?
Walking by myself.
The real Freddy Krueger in our lives, the unpredictable stranger.
Somebody who they don't know, who they encounter in public space, and who they really can't predict how their behaviour might affect them.
The federal government-backed study found surprisingly high levels of fear of violence among young people, particularly young men.
Young people tend to fear other young people, which is interesting, particularly in Sydney, where there's what they call the homies or the homeboy gangs.
Significantly, the research shows that our fears are real and rational, the result of our daily experiences, and along with those that are irrational, even imagined, they have an enormous impact on our lives.
We need to deal with fear specifically and not just with the crime.
Based on the research, pilot schemes are being planned to target shopping malls, transport and public housing to reduce the fear in our lives. John Collis, 7 Nightly News.
A young Sydney policeman who claimed he was wounded by 2 burglars has been charged with shooting himself. 25-year-old Constable Andrew Starr suffered a gunshot wound on Anzac Day. He told detectives he'd been shot during a scuffle with one of 2 burglars he'd been trying to arrest. Now, detectives have charged Constable Starr with creating a public mischief and with possessing an unlicensed firearm. He's been suspended and will appear in Fairfield Court in 2 weeks.
Some good news tonight for Sydney parents. Nearly all students in Year 7 can read and write. Schools have welcomed the results, but critics say the literacy results are flawed because the test was too easy.
Our state government says it has proof that teachers are having more impact than ever before with first-year high school students. 9 out of 10 pupils in Year 7 can read, write and understand basic language skills.
There are kids who are being equipped with the skills they will need in life, whatever job they're in. Everything depends on literacy.
The test was completed by every Year 7 state school student and a small number of private schools in March. From today, schools will begin distributing reports to parents outlining how their child performed in that test and how those results stand up statewide. And most parents will be impressed. 96% of students showed basic to advanced writing skills, 94% could read well, many to university standard, while 92% tested had a good understanding of how to use language correctly.
There'll be kids as a result of this who will get quality jobs they would have otherwise missed out on.
While the results are impressive, the federal government says basically the test wasn't tough enough and has stopped short of claiming that the exams were designed to produce positive figures.
The result, as they've announced it, is completely meaningless in terms of assessing whether or not young people are learning to read and write at a satisfactory level.
The state government says despite the criticism, it will continue the literacy program. Darren Curtis, 7 Nightly News.
There are some big changes happening at Sydney's International Airport. We'll show you what's going on next.
And Carly Simon reveals her battle with breast cancer.
I'm no prophet and I don't know nature's ways.
Police believe they've got enough evidence to confirm who kidnapped Sydney mother Kerry Whelan. A year to the day since Mrs Whelan vanished, detectives are ready to ask the Director of Public Prosecutions if there's sufficient material to lay charges.
It's the last time anyone but her killer saw Kerry Whelan. This was Mrs Whelan a year ago today, seen on security camera rushing from a Parramatta car park.
I believe she was kidnapped and murdered. That's my personal opinion.
It was 26 hours after his wife's kidnapping that Mr Whelan received a typed ransom demand for $1 million. A person thought to be the kidnapper later called his office, but since then there's been nothing. His wife of 16 years, gone.
I told my children that I didn't think their mother was coming back. So I think we've faced up to that situation.
Police have searched properties in the Southern Highlands but still haven't found Mrs Whelan's body. They now say they're at least getting closer to finding out who took her.
We are currently reviewing a range of information as we assess our next steps.
Those next steps will see police take their information to both the coroner and the Director of Public Prosecutions. It'll be up to them to decide whether there's enough evidence to arrest anyone and lay charges. Mr Whelan says he'd like to see capital punishment for the kidnapper if and when they're caught. Richard Lenarduzzi, 7 Nightly News.
Singer-songwriter Carly Symonds confirmed she's battling breast cancer. She's had surgery and is now undergoing chemotherapy. The hit performer says her doctors are confident that they've eliminated all the cancer and her prognosis is good. Just last weekend, Carly was given an honorary music degree from Berkeley College for 30 years of contributions to the music industry. Responding in song.
And tomorrow we might not be together. I'm no prophet and I don't.
The Australian share market closed lower today. The All Ordinaries down 15 points. Gold was also down. Our dollar up slightly against the greenback.
Work's begun on a major facelift for our international terminal at Sydney Airport. It's part of an $800 million project to make the airport run more smoothly, look better for the Olympics and take some of the pain out of travelling.
You know the feeling. The weather's terrible. The baby's crying. The car's on fire. Welcome to Sydney Airport. On the bright side, work started on a $350 million upgrade of the international terminal.
It actually involves a full terminal upgrade, not only the gate positions on what we call airside, but also departures and arrivals on landside.
There'll be room for more planes, people, shops, and a much better image for the Olympics.
We're going to have a lot of important people coming through here, especially tourism people, and to get the big tick in terms of your main international airport is absolutely essential.
The idea is to make it a better place for travellers, handle them quickly and comfortably. While all this construction work is going on, of course, the airport can't shut down. It's going to stay a bit messy around here for the next couple of years or so.
We're going to make the journey experience as good as it possibly can be in the circumstances, and even better when we're finished, but please do bear with us.
The new look terminal will have its own underground rail station. The line should be open just before the Olympics. Paul Marshall, 7 Nightly News.
There are claims that rugby league is in turmoil, Brooksy.
Yes, and the battle for club survival is heating up. One coach replaced, the captain saying some of his players should be sacked, and clubs even resorting to spying to check some strange crowd figures. It's been labelled the biggest league war since the Super League split. A coach sacked, clubs accusing others of cheating on crowd figures, calls for board members to stand down, and all this as officials work out the guidelines for team survival in the year 2000.
He lost a job when the Perth Reds folded. Now Dean Lance is taking over another club with a shaky
Knock them down
lifespan.
too much. We've got some work to do to try and lift these guys and get some confidence going in the place.
Rams management sacked Rod Reddy as coach last night. The Wooden Spooners the first to buckle as pressure builds to be one of 14 clubs left standing.
Rugby League's going through its most turbulent period since the great ravages of the Super League war.
And it's getting dirty. Penrith bringing in the long lens to spy on rivals Sydney City. The Roosters claiming 5,000 fans were at the last game, but the Panthers count only 3,000.
If we're a club in crisis, there are a few other clubs in crisis as well, and we want to be judged on the facts.
Crowd numbers are expected to play a big part in the NRL's survival guide for clubs. With that guide to be handed over within the next few weeks, expect to see these battles become full-scale war.
I can reveal for 7 News a move through the week where the football club asked its licensed club to buy 3,000 tickets for each of its home games.
And across the Tasman, more pressure. Warriors skipper Matthew Ridge saying at least 5 of his players should be sacked.
If the players can't deliver, then it's time to get new players in, and that means going to Australia. It doesn't mean going to our own backyard.
Kylie Gillies, 7 Nightly News.
AFL history on Friday night when our Swans line up against Collingwood. It's the first time the clubs have met at the MCG in more than 60 years, and it could be one of Sydney's unsung heroes who holds the key.
He's not spectacular, even he admits that, but Darren Creswell is effective. He gets the ball more often than any other player in the AFL.
Creswell,
Darren's averaging 29 touches a game this year.
Well, it's nothing that you certainly look at to be the highest possession winner. As long as the team's winning, that's the main thing. And
while Tony Lockett makes news every time he blows his nose, and Roos and Kelly and Schwass are always in the spotlight, it's the guts and class of Darren Creswell forming the foundation of a match-winning, possibly premiership-winning midfield.
He's certainly one player that wins the hard ball, and there's not many players in competition that can do that regularly.
Another key for Sydney on Friday night will be the return from injury of Brad Seymour, his first senior game of the year.
Yeah, I'm wrapped. It's been a long time coming, since round 19 last year.
Tony Lockett is also a likely starter. He's on the mend after the flu. Friday night's match will be the first time Sydney or the old South Melbourne have played Collingwood at the MCG since the 1936 grand final. The Magpies won that by 11 points. Nick McArdle, 7 Nightly News.
And England has a new cricket captain, Alex Stewart, set to lead the Poms in the series against Australia next summer. The 35-year-old veteran of 75 tests takes on one of sport's toughest jobs 6 weeks after Mike Atherton resigned from the position.
Obviously, wave the magic wand and everything will be hunky-dory. But what we will be doing is be doing our best to be competitive and be consistent. If we do that, then obviously we've got a great chance of being a good side.
What he said. And another slap on the wrist today for Aussie swimmer Richard Upton. 5 weeks ago, he was fined and reprimanded for testing positive to the masking agent probenecid, given to him by his doctor for a chest infection. Now the Court of Arbitration for Sport has banned him for 3 months and ordered he pays back $6,000 incentive money. But the retrospective ban only applies to Olympic competition and runs out in 2 weeks. Just as well, I believe, totally innocent, no problem. You guys have a terrific night. That's how the
We're having wonderful fun here.
Thanks, Brooksy.
Well, what a lovely day today, and Brian reckons there's more sunshine ahead too. Details next.
Hello everyone. I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. It turned out a beautiful day. We said it would be 24 degrees, and it was. And even now, it's still 21. Happiness is, you know, I get a kick out of this stuff. The air, clean of course, it was dry clean today, but it will be medium tomorrow. Don't get too excited. The rain was all at sea by dawn. It was quite cool up in the mountains though, 15 at Katoomba, but all the other suburbs had 24, and it was the same on the Central Coast. over the southern Tasman, the last of the cloud that brought all the rain. And as we go west, we can see another frontal band near Tasmania, and the speckled cloud shows a very cold air mass, so out with a cardi. On the satellite, scattered cloud is still hanging over northern Queensland. Nearly all of Australia is clear of cloud. More is building up to the south and southwest. That low southeast of Sydney is on the move. The cool change south of Adelaide will reach the southeast of New South Wales later tomorrow. So we're expecting a shower or two in Melbourne, Hobart and Adelaide tomorrow, but fine for everyone else. In our state, well, a light shower or two in the southern inland and on the ranges. Fine and sunny for the remainder. It'll be cool at first, then another great day, fine, mild, mostly sunny. Isn't this good stuff? Westerly winds, though, and a top of 22. Out in the suburbs, it's going to be cool in the morning. How about 7 at Katoomba? Yes, that is indeed nippy. 8 in our outer western suburbs, but the rest of the day around about 22. Some cloud, by the way, will develop later on in the mountains, and just 14 at Katoomba. On the waters, west to southwesterly winds up to 20 knots. That's pretty good, and a 3-metre swell running at the moment. UV index a high 4. Cooler southwest to southerly winds should be here on Friday. It will be dry though. Showers later. There's going to be a few hanging around Saturday, and as a special gift, a little sunshine for Mother's Day afternoon. And Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday will be cloudy, but it will be pleasant. And wasn't it a great day?
It was a superb day.
We'll always
Just
believe you.
perfect.
Always believe you.
Of course. Thank you, Brian. It's time to dust off those flares and disco albums. Saturday Night Fever is making a comeback. The musical has just premiered in London, with 2 Aussies starring in the lead roles.
It was the night Australia took London back to the 70s. The West End theatre crowd gripped with Saturday Night Fever, now a musical. 4 Aussie actors centre stage, including the 2 leads. And of course our Bee Gees, writing the soundtrack of a generation. The Duchess of York there to sing and clap along with the rest of the crowd, afterwards giving it her royal seal of approval.
Excellent. I think the Bee Gees and Robert Stewart ought to be thoroughly congratulated for bringing it all to life.
You just actually saw the songs being reborn again in a different way.
Saturday Night Fever made John Travolta a superstar. Now it's set to do the same for Australian Adam Garcia.
I mean, I remember JT, John Travolta, obviously. And but I tried to sort of get him out of my mind to do the role.
Sharing top billing, another homesick Aussie, Anita Louise Coon.
I love Australia. Yeah, I do miss it. I do miss the summers.
I've got a few really close
and I
friends
miss
out
my
there.
family.
But home will have to wait as these Australians teach a whole new generation what it means to be staying alive. In London, Stan Grant, 7 Nightly News.
Now there's a good excuse to have another bop.
That's it from us. Enjoy your evening. We'll see you same time tomorrow.
Good night.